We have a massive power, and it's the power to say no.
2024 is the year when the pushback begins in earnest.
People ain't seen nothing yet. That's what I keep telling people.
It is a master-servant relationship where we, the governed, are the masters.
Doctors are gaslighting patients.
You press down enough on people for long enough, you leave them no choice but to rebel.
So, no, I don't want to forget about it, and I won't shut up about COVID.
The story of the unvaccinated is still yet to be told.
We are one people, one flag, one Australia.
G'day everyone, welcome back to another episode of the X-Candidates. My name is Stephen Tripp. Thank you to everyone who are watching live on Facebook, Rumble or YouTube. If you are watching live, you can always contribute to this conversation in the chat, or at some time tonight I'll put the link for StreamYard if you want to call in and have your say. But I'm joined by two lovely gentlemen. First of all, Dave, right now, welcome to the X-Candidates, mate.
Thanks, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you. And Councillor Adam Zahra.
Yes. How are you going, Stephen? How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Thanks for hosting us again.
That's all right.
How's council life going for you?
Council's really busy. Actually, yeah, it was pretty good. I had my I went to my first real event on Saturday, which was the 24-hour cancer fight, which people walk around our sports stadium in Campbelltown for 24 hours. So they clock up laps, and then the money goes that they generate goes to the cancer hospitals in Campbelltown. So we've got a private hospital in Campbelltown, and obviously the oncology in Campbelltown Hospital. So the money gets donated to that. They've raised, actually, it was their 20-year anniversary, and they've raised over $5.6 million for cancer.
Wow.
So that's a really good effort, and it was a really good event. And it was good to see. We also had the Honourable Ryan Park, the Health Minister for New South Wales, and he came bearing gifts with his speech of $50,000. So that was a pretty good event as well. It was a pretty good outcome for the 24-hour fight.
So your council journey has begun, and everyone watching this is on their ride with you.
Yeah, that's right. So it's kind of like the Truman Show. Everyone's just going to see me fail and try and work hard and hopefully succeed in getting some things delivered for the people.
Now, do you want to explain why I've got a golden microphone?
Stephen had his birthday recently, and I just thought
I'm 30 now.
He's 30, yeah. And you look every day, and you look 10 years over it. So
I'm actually 40.
Yeah, well,
unbelievably,
you can never tell by the crow's feet. Oh, sorry, hi, Def. No, but anyway, Stephen works really hard on the podcast. This podcast, Commanding the Narrative podcast. He does a lot of other extra work, for nothing. Like, it's all for free. It's all voluntary work, doing forums and running around doing things for people. So I think for me, he is the man with the golden mic, and I thought I'd get him a golden mic. So I did.
And I already forgot to start this by saying, hello, world. I'm Stephen Tripp.
Hello, world.
Hello, world. Well, before we kick off and get to our fabulous guest, I'll let you know how you can support us, and it's by going to Buy Me a Coffee. Now, if you want to throw us a few dollars to help pay for the stream and also to help pay for the website, and also, most importantly, give us a warm and fuzzy feeling inside, please head to Buy Me a Coffee, and you can throw us a few dollars there, and it's much appreciated. It always blows me away when people want to part with their hard-earned money to support us, but people do. Just like, actually, I should bring this up. Timothy Cromer brought us 1 coffee.
Oh, nice.
And Oz Jackie brought us 3. So how about that, Adam?
Well, that's really, really nice. And we thank you guys for your patronage and watching our show. And without you, we wouldn't do it. So thank you.
Yeah. Also, if you want to keep up to date with everything that we're doing, please head to the Commanding the Narrative website. Best way to keep up to date with everything that we're doing, just head to commandingthenarrative.com. Very easy to remember. Top right-hand corner, click the sign up button, and you'll get a weekly newsletter with all our content, podcasts, articles, events coming up. Basically everything that we've got rods in the fire will be up on Commanding the Narrative, and it's the best way to keep up to date. No events to tell you about this week, purely because we had one today in Cronulla, which was fantastic, the Save Our Coast event down there, pushing back against the offshore wind project that's going to be visible from Cronulla in the Illawarra. So that was a great event. Hopefully we'll be organising some events soon that I can tell you about. But lastly, I want to let you know about the Light newspaper, new edition out. Pretty much talking about, oh, there we go. It always happens to these ones. Talking about censorship on the front page, which is probably going to be the main topic of the discussion tonight, probably. But if you want to help the Light newspaper, please head to the website, thelighaustralia.com, or if you're in Sydney or close to the Northern Beaches, you can call the number 0406 861 816 and help distribute the paper. The one in the Northern Beaches has all been paid for, so all we need is people to distribute into their local area. So if you can do that, it'd be much appreciated. But Dave,
I got one question before we start. I'm sorry, and you can chime in on this one as well, Dave. Do you think wind towers would be going in Cronulla if Zali Stegel lived there? Because they're great.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah. Oh wait.
Yeah.
Oh.
As long as it's not in her backyard, that's all.
That's right.
Are they proposing the fixed ones or the
floating?
Oh my goodness!
1,000 square kilometres of floating wind turbines, 260 meters tall.
I think that's one of the most expensive types of power generation. I looked into UK insurance underwriters. Insurance underwriters know how to measure risk and assess debt cost, and they were showing the cost for the floating ones was exponentially higher. It was just not economical at all.
And then they tell you that nuclear is so expensive,
Yeah.
and
the floating ones, they're further out. So just maintaining them's a lot harder. They need to think about towing them back in. They need floating substations out on the ocean.
Yeah.
It's insane.
They have to run cable with electricity underwater. I mean, it's electricity and water. And
I'm looking forward to seeing the Sun Cable project run 4,000 kilometers of cable from Darwin to Singapore.
That is the stupidest thing. And the thing is as well, we're using Australia's beautiful land. Okay, and you know, the Greens, you know, our Aboriginal friends, you know, talking about, you know, we love the land and don't destroy our land, and then the Greens not destroy anything, and then you're going to cover hundreds and hundreds of hectares of beautiful, pristine, sunburnt country, and then not receive any benefit for it because it's not going to power any house in Australia. We're going to run a cable into the ocean to our foreign water borderline, and then they're going to run a cable from their land to our border and connect the cable and use our power, let's say, right, for them.
That's after the 800 kilometers of lines to get it from the thing to the thing, plus all the batteries and the infrastructure and running in high temperature parts of Australia. It's
madness.
Yeah, it is completely nuts. But Dave, I only met you at the Misinformation Disinformation rally a couple of weekends ago.
Yep.
Came up and you gave me an interview. Hadn't come across you before, so whenever that happens, I get the idea of, hey, let's bring you on the podcast and let's find out more. And even when you rocked up tonight, you're almost like that scene of, you know, that scene in Back to the Future where Marty goes back in time for the first time and he finds Doc, and Doc's got that big thing on his head. Yeah. He thinks it's like a mind reader. He's like, don't tell me anything.
This damn thing doesn't work at all.
So it was kind of a bit like that. Don't tell us anything. Let's get the live reaction on the podcast about your journey, because not everyone's running around with a microphone at rallies interviewing people. You must have come to this point somehow. How did you? Well, I guess first, what's your background, and then we'll get into
what made you do it.
Yeah, what made you do it?
And for the record, that was the first time I've run around a rally with.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah,
but I made sure to look the part with the flag.
You look professional because you had the full
Yeah, and it makes it easier actually because people know you walk up to them with a microphone with a box on with your brand like a Dave Right Now written on it. Yeah. People know you're going to want to ask them questions versus just wandering up to them with a random iPhone being like, I would like to record you.
And you know what I also hate is, you know, that you get your little handheld mic and then people just do this to you now. And I'm kind of like, come on, guys, even we have a proper microphone like thing attachment.
And that's it. I'm using the little Rode Wireless Go, which is amazing. But rather than have the little square with the fluffy thing on, I've made 3D printed a proper handle for it, and I've got a whole box of dice going.
That's what you meant to. Well, come on, bring back journalism.
So we're asking you about your background.
Yeah.
So before Dave Right Now.
Yes. So, I mean, I like many Australians, grew up in sort of the lower middle class and not been super political, probably always voted Liberal at the end of the day, sort of always leaned right, grown up as a sort of more conservative Christian.
Well, we like this.
Yeah, and you know, like a committed Christian, and that's an important part of my decision-making matrix and how I see the world and how I view things. And so that's always been part of that. I've sort of, you know, worked various IT careers and things over the last couple of decades. I've got a few years on you, Stephen, believe it or not.
Yeah, wow.
I know I look very useful.
You do. You do. I mean, I'm not just pissing in your pocket.
It's the blonde hair. If there's grays, I can't see them. Yeah, I'm getting a few in the beard. But
you must supplement really well or something like that.
Good mitochondria.
Yeah. Ironically, my dad, I've never seen him with a full head of hair. So
wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
Neither was my. I don't think any of my children have either.
Yeah. So I got lucky on that one. Anyway, I'm getting away from my vanity into me doing a podcast because that's not vain at all.
So how did you get to the podcast?
So I didn't speak up a lot, and like most people, most things in Australia have been pretty good for most of the time. Like we actually haven't had to fight for freedom. We haven't had to fight for things. Things have kind of been ticking along, and arguably things have not been going along as well as they should, and we've seen consecutive governments of both affiliations put us on the trend line to where we are now. But you're not aware of that at the time, and I think most Australians still aren't. They believe the mainstream media. They believe a lot of the gaslighting things that go on. But the first real sort of political thing that sort of got me up in arms was the plebiscite.
Okay, into gay marriage.
The gay marriage plebiscite.
Yeah.
And I started speaking up a little bit on social media then, and I had people in my workplace and one of my managers say, you should probably not talk about that stuff so much, Dave. And so I actually went to the head of HR and said, hey, I want to have an opinion. Can I have an opinion? Like, it's a free country. Can I have an opinion? And I mean no hatred, no bigotry. I just think that redefining marriage is not the right path it's not good for society. People want to have, you know, equal property rights and so on, and all the de facto things. That's a whole different thing. But redefining the word marriage, I thought was not a thing I supported. Arguably, the horse bolted many years ago as Christians and society in general have sort of given up on the sanctity of marriage as sort of a lifelong commitment, and, you know, no fault divorce laws, and like I can go down whole rabbit holes on this stuff. But anyway, I spoke up a little bit on that, and then, you know, we lost that one. And just went back to work and just kept working. And then COVID came, and I was fortunate. I was working in one of those white collar jobs where we just went home and worked from our laptops and didn't suffer any real sort of economic consequence, which was like a great blessing. But at the same point in time, that gave me a lot of time to get out and do walking when we weren't being told we had to wear masks and mandated that we had to wear like face coverings outside in the outdoors, which was
they had to wear two.
I bought a treadmill because I was like, you know what? Because I was compliant. I was like, you know what? I don't want to cop fines for the sake of copping fines. So I'll generally do as I'm told and do the right thing. But I was like, I'm not walking around outside with a nappy on my face and not able to breathe. So I bought a treadmill until they changed that. But I started
Did you use it though?
The treadmill, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I was all through that first year of COVID, the 2021 year or whatever. We had lockdowns. I almost without exception hit my 10,000 steps every single day.
And Big Fitness loves you for it.
Yeah, Big Fitness.
Yeah, imagine the money they made out of treadmills, treadmill sales.
Anything, even, you know, the wheel with the, you know, the push-up wheel thing. And
I remember when the lockdown first happened, you couldn't go to Rebel and buy, like, I was just trying to find resistance bands. You couldn't get them anywhere. Everything sold out.
I was fortunate that I'd already had a bit of a decked out gym. I had weights and stuff at home already, so I didn't need to do that. I picked a lot of that up cheap on eBay years earlier when like CrossFitters had sort of gone national. They'd all injured themselves from like doing kettlebell swings and stuff. So I was like, cashed it on that and got decked out early for cheap before it went crazy, and people were like buying concrete from Bunnings and making their own dumbbells with like flower pots and concrete and stuff. So anyway, I started listening to more podcasts, and I stumbled across guys like Russell Brand. And during COVID, he was very enlightening as far as the way he was exposing some of the big pharma stuff and so going behind the scenes and connecting the dots. He'd draw up enough different elements. And if anyone's watched Stay Free with Russell Brand, you know how he talks about it and goes, this thing's happening here and this thing's happening there. There's all these converging interests. And is it really a coincidence? But unfortunately, I found that out after I'd gone and signed up for some mRNA shots. So yeah, I'm not a pureblood. I can't claim that, because I, as a good thinking about my community citizen, went, okay, if this stops transmission, then it's not about my own personal health, because I'm like, look, I'm young, I'm fit, I'm like 40-odd or whatever, and not particularly concerned about dying from COVID. But if this is going to, stop the transmission and reopen the doors and get the economy rolling again, I had that civic duty feeling that I should do the right thing, and do it. And I didn't go in completely blind. I looked into some of the mRNA stuff, and I listened to podcasts like Stuff You Should Know, and I love those guys. They do a good job of breaking stuff down. And I went, oh, wow, the engineering, the mechanics of how this seems to work seems like the right thing. And we didn't know about the myocarditis and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Back then, I know you're on Rumble, so we can say words like that.
We're on YouTube too, but
I think YouTube
doesn't matter. We're hanging on by a thread on YouTube.
Care about YouTube.
I ended up with the 2 shots and the booster. So I was in that, I sold my soul and got to travel in 2020.
Were you having any pressure put on you by?
Not really. I mean, the company was putting in limits as far as you can't come into the office if you're not vaccinated, but we could work from home. I did get to do a bit of international travel with work, which wouldn't have been possible if I hadn't done that. Like in very early after lockdowns were opening up, I went to New York for a week, which and then the company was like, sent us all these kits, and we had to take these kits every morning. Then we plugged a stick into a machine, and it told us whether we could like get into the conference that day or not. Like, it was all pretty full on.
Yeah.
I have no desire to stick any kind of rat test swab up my nose ever again. But anyway, I subsequently, listened to a lot more Russell Brand and guys like Stephen Crowder and a few other guys, and just became a little bit more politically aware of things that were going on and connecting the dots beyond me. And they talk about waking up. I was never on board with woke, but I was also just like a bit of a normie sheeple, just going along with.
I guess to finish up on the vaccine. So you took the 3. Did you get any adverse reactions or anything like that?
No, I think the only time I got COVID was after the 3rd shot, though.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people say, oh, there's no one that's unvaccinated that regretted not being unvaccinated. Did you regret taking the vaccines, or were you quite happy to do it? I guess looking back.
Now I'm like, going to New York was fun, but at the end of the day, I'd rather not have that stuff in me. Although, given that it's been over 2 years since I had it, arguably I'm probably past the statute of limitations of being at a high risk of the adverse effect. So it's probably must have broken down.
Even with Dr. Peter McCullough, sorry. He even says, after 15 months of no reactions or no adverse effects, generally you're in the clear, but you have to worry about like retransmission, like getting it again and things like that. So not medical advice, I'm not a doctor, but prophylaxis is a good thing as well to have. So, to have stuff to avoid getting it in the first place. And we've had a few doctors on our show say that you don't want the bioweapon to be affect you or to be infected by the bioweapon again, especially after the shot. So that's cool.
So arguably I got lucky. My wife, she had AstraZeneca and Pfizer. I just had Pfizer. So we both of us never again. But we both, we don't appear to have any adverse effects, and we didn't get our kids done. So our kids are clean. So I'm really glad that we drew the line on that, because by that time we were like, we're both a bit iffy on it by the time we got our 3rd one. And that's when they were trying to roll the kids out. And we're like, nope.
How many people out there do you think are similar to you, have had it, didn't really think about it at the time, but now looking back, they think, oh.
There's probably a few. I actually really feel for the ones that have that feeling and they also got their kids boosted, because it's like anything that you do to your children and you go, oh, why did I do that? And now that I can't reverse that. Like, I think you see some of that with, to topic jump a little bit, the parents that are indulging the gender dysphoria stuff and they're driving their kids down this path and then they go back and they go, oh, no, we have to keep going with this now, because otherwise we have to admit to ourselves that we've done this terrible harm to our child.
Yeah. Reminds me of back in the day, they used to always have these specials on TV about beauty pageants, and they would make the argument that the beauty pageant was more for the parent than that actual child. I feel like this is like the same sort of thing in a twisted.
It's weird Munchausen's by proxy kind of.
Yeah.
Right. indulging the parent in their social license by using the child. But anyway,
well, the thing is, you don't want to admit that you've made a mistake
Right.
as a parent.
Exactly.
And then that's,
especially
and
if
that's
it
where
affects your kids and potentially lifelong, irreversible.
Imagine, okay, and this is the scary thing, right? Imagine your child is normal, hitting its benchmarks, carrying on. You take them through a shot and they stop speaking.
Yeah.
How guilty.
What do you do when we find out in 15 years' time that this whole generation of children are sterile and can't have children, or they can't have children without weird gene abnormalities and other bits and pieces? Like, I think that's going to be horrific to see. I hope it's not. I hope and pray, that it breaks down in the systems, and the RNA was temporary and creation is greater than that, and the human body can regenerate back to its core programming effectively over that period of time. But we also know sometimes damage to physical cells is damage to physical cells.
Yeah. Well, they do say we're a species that is hard to kill. Well, hopefully there's a bit of that going around. But, so getting to the podcast.
Yes. So I after many years of loyal service to this large international company, they did a restructure like many other companies did, saying, "Oh, we overhired during COVID and we need to downsize." And a big thousands of people got sent home, regardless of how good their work was, because they said, "Oh, we're just changing the structure of the company." And I was in that tranche of people that got sent home, and I went, "Oh, cool! Well, I've got a little bucket of money here. I've got some time. I don't really know what to do. I would like to. I've been inspired by the brands and the crowders, etc. And I'm not seeing a lot of that here in Australia. I'm not seeing a lot of the straight white conservative dude talking about these things. Obviously, there's a few that probably were all springing up around a similar time, and so I didn't see a lot of them at the time. But I was like, I'm going to be a voice for the people that look like me that don't think they can talk up on this stuff. They feel like they're wearing the golden handcuffs. So it's career limiting. They can't have these opinions. Because if I can have them on their behalf, then maybe they can share a TikTok, they can share a YouTube, they can spread the word without actually having to say the words. And so if I can help wake up people like me, then that's what I'm going to do. That's a good thing to do. And it started off, it wasn't always Dave Right Now. Originally, it was mostly Man Things.
Okay.
Because I'd had this feeling around, the being that middle-aged white guy. I'm the patriarchy. I'm the colonizer. I'm all the negative things in society.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to have an opinion.
Yeah.
Misogynist, so on and so forth. And the only one time of the year that I felt we had the chance and were allowed to talk about these things was Movember. And so I got big into doing Movember and ran the corporate team for Movember, and I raised thousands and thousands of dollars for Movember over the years. I started my live streaming, actually doing 24-hour live streams for Movember.
24-hour live stream.
24-hour live stream.
Just me, 24 hours.
You did it.
I've done like 3 of them.
What would you talk about?
I play video games.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. People,
yeah.
You get all the kids
so
watching you doing that.
do Twitch and stuff. You don't get huge audiences, but because people know you've done the effort, and friends and family go, well, that's pretty huge that you've gone online for 24 hours. Even if they don't watch it, they appreciate the effort. And so you don't sleep.
Don't sleep. How do you eat? Like, can you get up and go to the fridge, or do you have to have everything prepared?
No. So the last year I was most organized because I had a podcast by this time. I had little clips of like 5-10 minute things, so I could say, "Here's one I prepared earlier," and I could like replay a clip from a previous show. But previous years it was really like, I'm going to take a 20-minute break, so just put up a holding screen back in 20 minutes, and got to go to the bathroom. Right? Very low tech because I wasn't a full-time streamer or content creator or anything. So this last one, which will be the last one because Movember have made a few moves that I don't agree with that I can discuss. I don't think I'll be doing Movember this year, sadly. But yeah, so it was mostly Man Things because I went,
because ladies with beards.
No, it's the Healthy Masculinities Project, as the government calls it, and Movember is chucking in millions of dollars towards this thing, which is all about the non-binary and gender norms and all this other gear.
So can't men just have one thing? Nope. Seems
anyway,
like
I nearly didn't do Movember last year because they backed in The Voice.
All right.
But they didn't go super over the top with it. It was mainly the CEO or MD or whatever made a few comments, and I was like, you guys should be apolitical. You're such a a meaningful charity that raises like funds for health for men, you should be apolitical. You shouldn't be drawing them. You're not like us where we come in and we do our stuff and we have opinions and we're online and that's what we do. If you're running that kind of organization, you need to not offend, because there's people on both the left and the right that are going to get prostate cancer, that are going to kill themselves from depression, that are going to do these things.
That's right.
And so to alienate a big bunch of your fundraisers, your donors, your potential clients, etc., I didn't like that, but they didn't go over the top with it. They didn't go crazy with their voice campaigning. So I was like, it's still a good cause. I'll do it. But now that they're sticking millions into this healthy masculinities project, which has nothing to do with masculinity. It's like that new Kamala ad you see where I'm a man. You see, I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it yet. No,
it is the gayest thing you've ever seen. Like in both some of the guys like actually look really gay, but just pejoratively as well. It is horrific and so cringy about all these guys trying to show how manly they are for voting for Kamala and how they're tough guys. And so anyway, so mostly man things, and that was the thing. I was like, okay, cool. Now I can dedicate more than just the 1 month of the year. I don't just have to do a few streams in November. I want to kick this thing off as a more regular thing, talking about men's issues and you know the real issues facing men around the depression and suicide rates, the fact that we're not the myth of toxic masculinity and that gets banded around all the time. And so I thought that was the thing. I've got my new channel, my Mostly Man Things channel. I'm going to talk about those things. And then as the voice referendum started picking up momentum last year, I realized I had a lot more political opinions than I realized, and wanted to speak up more about all the bollocks that Albo and his crew were ranting and raving about. And so over the last year or so, like that first year, I was doing all this stuff under this Mostly Man Things banner, but the two things never really gelled, right? It seemed I was excluding all the women from the audience that care about politics too, by saying it was mostly was the accommodation. It's not just Man Things, that's mostly Man Things, and the Mo was to have Movember. I had layers in my head, but how well that worked as a brand, I don't really know.
I think the main point is, and Adam and I have experienced this as well, when you first start off, you don't have this grand plan.
No.
You just throw yourself into it. And then you evolve over time. So you do kind of grow out of what you were doing. You might want to rebrand because you're going in a different direction. These things are just like and as I say a lot of the time, we're taking the audience on the same journey that we're on as well.
Yep.
So
yeah, and so over time and the YouTube, I finally sort of managed to hit that monetization thing and hit 1,000 people and got the views and stuff. I had just like basically 2 videos went really, really well. One of them was me reacting to the Daily Wise Lady Ballers trailer. So the Lady Ballers trailer did all the hard work and the heavy lifting, and I was kind of like the guy going, yes. And the other one was the Rip Curl, the surfer, the trans surfer guy. That one went really well. But I think because I was doing this mix of different content, the algorithm, and I started doing like media reviews of like a show's woke or not and other bits and pieces, and the channel just lacked identity. The YouTube algorithm didn't know where to direct me, and so I sort of hit monetization and then kind of plateaued and just nothing happened. I couldn't grow. So after doing that for a few more months, I decided, you know, and talking to other guys and friends that I podcast with on my other show, the Awakened Aussies show, I decided I needed to, you know, go down like the Ben Shapiro, the Matt Walsh, that brand, and stick my name on the show.
Yeah.
And so after banding around and I came up with Dave Right Now, and so did a full rebrand. Actually, sunset my Mostly Man Things YouTube channel. Because the algorithm was too confused, I was like, I need a clean break. I've got to start again. And so I've actually given up the monetization to try and start again and rebuild it, which is like it's a journey again to go through that. Just rebranded some of my TikToks and things like that, which didn't have quite the same issues and so on. But that's where Dave Right Now came from, because I'm Dave and right now I talk about the issues and things that are going on, and here's my opinions and things. And you know, like you said, you go on the journey. And so when things like the Misinformation Disinformation Bill rally came up, I'd wanted to do some live stuff like out in the field a little bit. I went out with Chris Coveries, and we hung out outside the courthouse during the Giggle Tickle thing for a day. And Chris is a machine. Like he knows what he's doing out there. He edits on the spot. He just goes up to people and talks to them. Like his assertiveness in that is just next level.
And super intelligent.
Oh, crazy. Crazy switch on. And so I hung out with him for a day, and watching him go up to these ladies at the courthouse and clipping mics on them and recording them and asking them questions and editing, and getting straight up on the spot. And he's like, "Go on, Dave, go down." I'm like, "Nah, I'm not today." So I was almost there. And then when the Miss thing came up, I was like, we're going to give this red a go. And I think we were saying at the start, I sort of put in a bit of effort to make it feel like more of a thing. Like I made sure I had a mic with a handle, with a box, with the flag box. So I looked like almost like a professional, like a news crew, of which there were none there, except I didn't have someone following me with a camera. I had like a little selfie handle with my iPhone plugged into it, with sort of the Rode connected up. But it was good. And having the one mic rather than have a clip on, that means I could control who was talking and trying to do that. Worked really, really well. So I'm keen to do more of that. It's just, knowing when the events are on, finding out what events are on. And I seem to just have no visibility of where things are at. And, having a family, working out, okay, can I ditch family events this weekend to go to an event and other bits and pieces? So I'm keen to do more of it. I think it's good. I think it's, especially events like the Disinformation where there was no mainstream media there. I don't know if you were there. Did you see any mainstream media?
No, there was no coverage at all.
Nothing.
But why would they broadcast it? Because they're protected.
Yeah.
So why would they want to raise it or stop it? Because they know that it works for their advantage.
The only mainstream media channel that's talked about Disinfo, and they didn't talk about that rally at all, is Sky News. But yeah, they didn't even get a camera or even an iPhone down there.
Did you, I guess through this whole experience, what has been the main challenges and what have you learned from it?
I've learned Australia is not a big market for this kind of independent media. Like you look at the guys in the States and in the UK and stuff, and they seem to be able to get much bigger audiences. And look, small potatoes, and you're starting out and you don't know what you don't know, and trying to build the audience and find the audience. I thought, you try and produce a high quality-ish product as much as you can as a single person operator. It would just, 6 months in, I'd be all flying colors. I'd be like, yeah, okay, now I'm gonna lease out a studio and be able to hire a production assistant and do all that kind of stuff. Like,
I don't think we ever thought that, did we, Adam?
No. Hey, it was amazing just getting the fishbowl, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think for us it was more about what kind of guests we could have.
Yes.
And we'd get a thrill out of some of the people that we could get on the show. And we found that because we'd been candidates in the past, there was a currency that came along with that. Suddenly you could say, hey, I was a candidate for blah, blah, blah. And they would be receptive to that more so than just being a regular person off the street. And I suppose now, Adam being a councillor, I guess we could have...
Well, might open up...
Maybe we can have Elon Musk on next, or...
I might get to meet Elon Musk. That'd be a wild, hey, like, and I haven't quite settled in yet.
Build a tunnel in Campbelltown or
we want his Hyperloop train, don't we?
Whatever.
Yeah. We need a high speed rail.
Yeah.
Well, I'm scared to death of his little Optimus robot. That does not. That looks dystopian.
What's that about?
That's anyway.
Is that the future we want?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Come with me if you want to.
Just to call it Optimus is like
Optimus, because he's taken in all Optimus Prime.
I know, but
and Optimus Prime is like the good guy.
Really. Well, that's his whole point. Like he said, like people always ask him, should we be concerned about AI? And he makes this thing about, well, that's why you have multiple AIs, because some will be good and some will be bad. And like I'm like, do we really want to be within this AI war? Like, I don't know.
Think about it. They don't stop. Like just think about things like cameras, like speed cameras, seatbelt cameras, all these things. I was thinking about it the other day. Like, we're human. We make mistakes. Okay. So like, you could be, without trying to, implicate myself in anything. I was driving through one of these tunnels and I've never been in the tunnel before, the M8 tunnel and all that kind of stuff. And, it's crisscrossing and doing all these crazy things. And the GPS is saying, turn left, turn right, turn left. And you're like, I don't know where I'm going. Right. Anyway, so the last thing you're really thinking about is your speed. You're driving with traffic. You're not doing anything stupid, right? And then you look down and go, oh, and then there's a camera like right there. Like, there's no room for error with AI and robotics and stuff like that. But we make errors naturally. So it's kind of like you're getting robots to police us, and we just...
It's the same thing with the whole auto driving thing in general, though, right? It's almost the trolley car problem. How does AI solve the trolley car problem? Like, there's someone on the road where do you swerve, and what are the implications of you swerving? Are you going to kill 3 other people versus the one person, and
Yes.
so on? And then how does the AI get to make that decision? As humans, we don't know. They're like, people struggle with that philosophical question of do you pull the switch and who do you kill? How do we get AI to decide who it's okay to kill? Like that's horrific to think about.
Because would AI just plow you into the wall? Like, say it was
Well, yeah, like
kill
you're
them,
one.
kill them, or just kill yourself. Most people will probably just plow into a wall. Like,
And would you be able to sue the AI afterwards?
Well, you'd be dead.
You killed my family, so
But, yeah, you're right. You're right. If your options are kill 3 people, kill 5 people, kill 2 people, kill 1, how does the AI not prioritize just killing the driver?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
The driver, the passenger,
in the car. Yeah. And what's the point of that anyway? People drive cars for fun, like just to drive them to drive. But that's neither here nor there. Sorry. I'm a car head.
yeah. I think on like the audience and so on, it's been interesting to go on that journey and learning what appeals and how to work the algorithms and not pandering to the algorithms to produce a thing that just drives views, because that defeats the purpose. Like I don't want to just build a viral channel for the sake of building a viral channel. I want to build a channel with an audience to educate and grow awareness and, entertain here and there, being inspired by guys like Brandon Crowder. Like they're not dull fuddy-duddy guys. So how do we bring a little bit of that in and do that? And you're talking about how do you get the guests and stuff. And I think for me, I get stuck maybe sometimes in the chicken and egg program, like Luke, where it's like, well, when I'm bigger, I'll be able to get a guest, but I'm not big enough yet to try and ask those people. And so I won't ask them. And so I won't be able to get any like brand recognition off using their, like piggybacking off them. And like, so I think one of the things I need to do is get better at.
Well, the best tip I can give you is that politicians love talking about themselves.
They do.
Some of them, wouldn't matter if you're getting one guest tonight, watch it, they'll still comment and want to talk about themselves.
I think we used it for an education platform as well.
Yeah.
So what happened was getting people like Dr. Peter McCullough and even our very own Paul Vallejo,
Ian Plimer,
like these are super intelligent people, and there's many, many more. I can't name everyone. Kevin Lockray, like we got all these people, so much perceived to be smarter than ourselves, right? And when you try to it's like a bit of a battle. You head to head with them, So like, can I ask them a good enough question to validate me? So do I understand their expertise enough to ask them a decent question? And we found a lot of the times that we could ask them decent questions and get some really good information out there. We delved into a few things with various guests. So I think that what was driving us as well to really try and get our guests on, and not just for entertainment value, but it was helping us with our politics.
Well, you would probably find, even though you do the solo ones, you still have to research for that, or at least keep up to date with everything that's happening in the country and the world. So you're constantly building your knowledge, keeping up to date with everything. Have you found that?
Yeah. Like you're just trying to soak up the world news and be a sponge. And we had a guy come on the Awakened Aussies show, who he's a subject matter expert in what he does. He's not a sort of broadly like looking at across all the things. And he made the same comment. He's like, how do you guys stay across all this different stuff? And like part of it is spending way too much time on X, for better or worse. But yeah, and on my show, like taking notes out of like Stephen Crowder's book, if I bring stuff up, I share all the links and the references. I want to make sure that people can go through and they can find the original sources of what I've shown them.
But here's a question for you. So you're doing the pod, even now we're doing it in a room here. There's no one else around. You're doing solo ones. When you're out in a crowd, going up and interviewing people, and Adam and I find this as well, whether it's going to a rally or standing on a polling booth or maybe door knocking or something like that. It's almost like a study of humanity. Everyone gives you a slightly different reaction. Some people want to talk to you straight away. Some people are a little bit more hesitant, but then they warm up. Some people just brush you completely. Some people are aggressive. Some people are lovely. What did you find from it? Yeah,
it was a bit of a mixed bag. There were a few people that gave obvious body language. They weren't super comfortable. Some people were curious, and so it was one of those things that what does that guy do in the mic? And so you're like, oh, you just connected with my eyeballs now. I'm coming to talk to you. And sometimes they'd be shy, skittish. And I wasn't there to try and embarrass or overwhelm people. Like they were there for the right purposes, even if they were there because they heard about the rally through the parallel hijack rally. They were still there ostensibly for the right reasons, regardless of the other character that I don't want to talk too much about that was there that day, unless you guys want to go into that. So I wasn't there to try and embarrass and stuff. And so even when when I was talking to them and asking questions, I didn't try and challenge them too much. I was just there to openly what do you think about these things? Yeah. I wasn't trying to go, but what about this? And have you thought about that? Like it wasn't that sort of confrontational interview, which I mean, there's a place for that at some of these rallies and events, I think.
Yeah.
But for this being my first one out in the field, I was very much just like, okay, let's just respond to them and hear what they say. And you do get the mix of people that just there for like, yep, this is free speech and it matters, and I don't want the government telling me what I can say. And then you got the people sort of at the further ends of the spectrum that are sort of diving into was the moon landing real and other bits and pieces.
So I put the link in the chat if anyone wants to call in and ask Dave a question or make a comment about what we're talking about. But this misinformation, disinformation rally that you're at, it's a massive issue. I think we fall into the trap of using the other side's language too much. We call wind and solar renewables when there's not really much renewable about them.
Well, you got to renew them every 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, exactly, right? Or the subsidies need renewing or something like that. It's for me, misinformation, disinformation, it's really just censorship at the end of the day.
Yes.
Have you come across any censorship on your platform?
I've had algorithmically, TikTok blocked a few things. And often on appeal, you get them back. But sometimes you don't. One of them was, I was showing, very recently, Yumi Stein's Welcome to Sex book got put on the Prime Minister's awards list.
Yeah.
So I was talking about that, and I found an old clip where someone had gone into Big W and they were like showing pages of it. And so I played that on my show and talked about like how horrific this content was, targeted at like young children, and then I clipped that down to like a 60-second TikTok thing and showed the same footage, and TikTok fully banned it. They went, this is like sexually explicit content that you can't have on this platform. And I'm like, well, apparently it's for 11-year-olds. So they gave me a hard strike on that one. And I was like arguably, so they should.
So they should. To a point,
But just the hypocrisy of that this book is being potentially given awards for this content.
Lauded.
So if this legislation comes in, what will that mean for you?
I think what that means for all of us in this space is bad news, because even the free speech platforms like X and Rumble, if they're up against major fines and things, it gets to the point where they're like, it's too expensive for us. Australia is not a big enough market for us to care about. People like Elon, US is the goal, right? US is where they want to make sure free speech is retained and backing Trump and all that kind of gear. He'll just go, I'm going to restrict X users in Australia, and we won't have that platform for discussion. Rumble arguably might do the same thing. I mean, they've shown to be a little bit punchy with like some of the Russell Brand stuff.
Well, that happened in France, so but you can't get Rumble in France.
So they just pull out of the country.
Yeah, they just pull out.
And so then what does that leave us? That leaves us with, recording stuff and getting a Squarespace or a Wix site or something and pushing it up on our WordPress platforms. And then how do we promote it? How do we get people to go to it? Like,
well, would that open the door? Because I guess they're going after the publishers of the content. So if you're putting it on your
but if it's not non-interactive, if you turn comments off, if you don't allow that, I would argue you're allowed to publish videos on a website that's non-interactive through the legislation.
Okay.
So but then what, we're back to the 90s. Like how do you got to visit the website every day to see if there's an update on there? There's no feeds.
I guess that's what they want.
You probably can't even have an RSS or a Substack in that. Like I don't know. Who even knows how to access RSS feeds anymore? Like that's like we've devolved in that sense that we rely on these AI feeds. I remember when you'd have your 5 sites where you went to for your tech news and your gaming news and your whatever news you liked, and they'd have their feeds. And so you'd have your Google homepage, and that would have, you just have your list of feeds on there, and you'd log in and just see in chronological order. Oh, oh, newest to old, like oldest. What articles had recently come out in the last 24 hours, like, or since you last checked, and you go, oh, that one looks interesting. Now with the feed, I was lamenting about this on X just yesterday, I think. I go on X and I'm on the For You tab, and it's all, it determines what is at the top, and doesn't matter how old or young it is, and you see the same thing 8 times as you refresh. And so you go, oh, just to the following tab, just the people I'm following. Maybe that'll give me, no, I can't get a chronological order on that one anymore. I can't. There's no way to say, just show me the things I care about, newest first to oldest. And so how, like, you're just relying on these platforms now to construct the order of data and which data you receive. There's no easy way on many of these platforms to say, no, I want to know what these specific people are telling me, and I would like to see what has happened since last time I saw them.
Well, the thing is, I like chronological order though.
Yeah.
Like, because then I can choose what I want to read.
You're not refreshing, hoping to get a new thing. And that one was 2 days ago. That one was 5 minutes ago. Okay, I'll watch that one. Like,
and then you find that, because, when you're liking similar page, like we all fall into the trap of just liking, let's say right-wing stuff or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what wing, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens is, they cross-share anyway. So then, like you said, 3 or 4 of the same thing, this, that, the other. And then, but the algorithm, I guess, for you also concentrates only the certain things that you see.
Yeah.
So then you wouldn't even get maybe something from, like, say, a Greens page or whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter what, an alternative view.
Over time, enough of them block you, so you don't see guys like Mike Carlton and stuff anyway.
Yeah. So we can get like poison as well, because we can't see the full news. That's why we like the light newspaper, because we can choose what to read and things like that. But I missed the chronological order, like what you were saying, because I I'll pick and choose,
right?
And I'm just holding up.
Yeah, the light newspaper.
Cheap plug.
Because it's actually AI. When you're talking about what you're talking about, what was back to my point is that it's censoring anyway.
Yeah,
it doesn't left or right or up or down. It doesn't matter, but it's still censoring what you can and can't see. That's like like Netflix or Prime Video or something like that. I don't care. I don't care what they recommend for me. Just give me the list and I'll choose. Whereas, so I can go into like, say, like my profile, and it's like Suits and Sons of Anarchy and blah blah blah, whatever it is, right? And then you've got, and I'm like, but I'm trying to find something different, and I can't. I can only find the same genres and stuff. And then I'll click into, like, say, my daughter's one, and then there's a whole different list of things that I can't even access unless I physically type it into the search engine. So to me, that's censorship already.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's censorship, but it certainly steers what you see. It's automated, like editorializing and what's the word? Whether you curating.
Oh, right, curate. That's a good word. That's a good word.
It's unsolicited curation.
Yeah,
I don't want them to curate my stuff for me. I've chosen that I want to follow those people, and like the automated, like the For You tab or whatever, where it's going to go, okay, you like these things, so we're going to give you some random things you might not follow or that are connected to people that you follow or whatever. That's great. That's interesting. Sort of help broaden out the branches of my tree. But sometimes I just want to go to my garden and look at what I've planted and just walk down that and go, oh, I like that piece of fruit there and that piece of fruit there. And they've taken away that option. It doesn't exist anymore.
They've basically given you can only eat apples, right? But here's an orange every now and then.
I don't Facebook ever anymore, but Facebook used to. I don't know if it still has. You could say, show me the most popular things in my feed, or show me latest. Like,
right.
Once upon a time, and I think X used to have that as well. Like old Twitter had that once upon a time. It's just gone. You can't. Like, I don't understand why they won't just give us a chronological.
How significant is this legislation? Like, what can you? And the question I like to ask is, at what point in history has censorship ever worked?
I'm not a historian enough to give that article that answer, but probably never.
Well, not for the people at least. Maybe for some authoritarians.
The elite.
I think the issue is who gets to decide what's true. That's the biggest issue, and especially with the current government. And look, I'm not saying the previous LNP governments have been the best for us in many ways either, and have disappointed us too. But if you look at like the voice referendum, and I recently reshared one of the clips I did. Where you got Albo going, it's 1 page, and then you got Megan Davis going, it's 18 pages, and then he's like, it's not about a treaty. And then I did an episode where I read like the entire 120 odd pages or whatever of the thing with no, it was 120 pages, but then the statement, the summary was the 18. So I flicked through all the community notes things and then read the 18 pages live on air. And it says in there that any changes should be substantive and include a treaty. After he's like, it's not a treaty, it's not a treaty. I'm like, so the government was consistently purveying, like, I don't even want to use their word, they were lying.
They were lying.
Like, it wasn't mistruth, it's not misinformation. Like, these are those sort of newspeak sort of change the language words.
Yeah.
It's not misinformation, disinformation. It's misinformation might be opinions that are ill-informed opinions, where you say something thinking it's true, but it turns out it wasn't. Disinformation is deceit. It's lying.
Yeah, disinformation. What's their definition of it? It's with intent to hurt.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's deliberate. That's
deliberate.
like
it's a lie.
Premeditated.
Yes.
Yeah, that's you chose to misinform. You chose to lie.
Yeah.
So there's terms misinformation, disinformation. And it should be like opinion, not always factually substantiated, or lies, or the truth.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Truth.
Yeah,
misinformation is probably what would you say?
Yeah, I think that's just the if it's
non-factual truth.
Yeah, well, not just opinions. It's uninformed opinion.
Yeah.
Do you think this is going to hurt the government at the election?
I'm not sure that's the top of people's list when they're struggling to keep the lights on and pay power bills. Like, it's a distraction in many ways, and the mainstream media is not talking about it, so people don't know about it, and the people that do care about it, we're called conspiracy theorists.
Sorry, keep going.
No,
I think it's true. I think the only people who really know about the misinformation, disinformation bill are the people who stood up during COVID. So that group of people who were like, oh, you're taking away too much of our freedom, and it's not about I want the vaccine or not want the vaccine. It's kind of like, well, it shouldn't be mandatory that I have it, or I shouldn't be held over a barrel to get it. If people want it, they can have it. If they don't want it, they don't have to have it. But the fact of the matter, and they're the people who seem to be coming up to me, even in the streets at the moment, about this misinformation. So the same crew of people that we got to know during our first couple of campaigns.
So
they're on it. They're the ones.
Pauline has made a comment. Hello, Pauline. Thank you for watching again. 28,000 submissions went in. That's
more than the last one. That's great.
Incredible.
I think it was 24 on the first 12 months ago.
Yeah. So the people that are switched on do feel that this is a major issue.
Yeah, which is good because, like I said, if we don't have access to the platforms, and so then Channel 2, so they call the ABC now. They're not called Channel 2.
Yeah.
Just old. The ABC, 7, 9, 10, SBS. That's where people go for their main news, and they will continue to run whatever narratives they choose to run, and people can't get alternative opinions local. But they might still be able to go on and find. Well, no, if the platforms get restricted, how do you even consume?
You wouldn't even be able to watch Joe Rogan.
No. They could still allow consumption, but publishing would be turned off. So Australians might still be able to go and watch YouTube and watch X, but we won't have publishing access if they want to restrict the risk. But gee, that sounds horrific, right? Like, how does a government justify that they've convinced an online social media platform?
What about the people out there that are saying, well, if you don't spread misinformation and disinformation, you got nothing to worry about? What do you have to say?
Well, you read through the explanatory memorandum, which I've read bits of it around the bill, and look at some of the examples around serious harms. And they talk about the serious harms. So beyond referendum proposal, which is pretty obvious, the government said one thing when another thing was true. But given they were so vehement around the fact that what their lies were true, if Michelle Rowland or whoever the communications minister is in the future has the access to go to the ACMA and say that was misinformation, block that, get that taken down. Kind of like Julia McGrant did with the bishop stabbing footage, which she's just now gone, okay, I was wrong. I shouldn't have asked for it to be blocked in the world or anywhere really. I'm so glad you've decided that after you've spent arguably probably hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers and KCs and etc. But another example they talk about, one of the serious harms is risk to the financial and banking system. And that's one of the harms. And when you look through the explanatory memorandum, one of the instances they talk to, they jump in the Wayback Machine to look for, we need to find some examples of this. 2011 in Sweden, I think, there was some concern around the banks, and so there was a run on the ATMs, and all the ATMs ran out of money. And so they're like, that's one of their examples of a serious harm against the banking system. So imagine like April, we had the cash out day, cash is king day, which you guys were probably across, where everyone was encouraged to go down, pull out a couple of 20s or a 50 or whatever, just pull something out and then go spend it in your local small business shops, or even Coles, because Coles was like, we can't get Armour Guard to come out because we don't need enough money anymore, and they don't want to work, and Armour Guard's going to shut down. And so just go and use cash in the economy. But arguably, if there's a bunch of us promoting that, the government might go, well, that could cause a run on the banks, and there won't be enough dollar bills in the ATMs, and it's going to cause widespread havoc. Oh no, shut that down. And so, like, something as stupid as saying, hey, go spend some cash, could be a serious harm according to this bill. It's this nightmare legislation that will just shut down the ability to have opinions and go, you know what, that opinion is stupid, versus that opinion is good, or arguing the merits of it. And we're seeing a lot of this arguing going on at the moment across very divisive issues, whether, it's the sort of pro-choice, pro-life arguments going on, whether it's the Israel-Palestine issues going on, whether it's the disinformation bill conversation going on, or the renewables, the net zero versus nuclear conversation going on. You've got all these different things where there's not necessarily one right answer. There is sometimes some gray area, which is debatable.
That's what debate is, though,
right?
Yeah.
And go, okay, well that makes sense there, but what about this? And what about this? And back and forth to find the right answer.
Yeah,
they'll just eliminate that. And like this is why I mentioned the parallel rally. That's why I got upset about that guy in the park, because he tried to make a thing about who free speech means I can come and talk in a park. You can't tell us I can't talk in a park. It was redundant. That's not what the event was about. This bill isn't going to stop anyone going and talking at Speaker's Corner.
I guess we should explain for people that weren't there. The Libertarians had organised the rally, but then there was another group that came along and had their own separate stage, and there was a bit of back and forth between the two. It was a bit like, my turn to speak. No, it's my turn to speak. And there was a bit of that going on.
That was horrific, and it was just unprofessional and unnecessary. Like, if this other group really cared about freedoms and freedom of speech, they wouldn't have made a big deal about who gets to talk at Speaker's Corner. They would have been like, hey, cool, we've got these connections to these COVID freedom networks. Let's get everyone there to back the Libertarian event, to learn about the bill, and then go make submissions against it. But instead, it just became a bit of a measuring contest and was...
I find that a lot. We've found that a lot in the movement, haven't we?
Yeah.
Freedom movement and all that kind of stuff. Everyone kind of just stood on each other's toes.
Look, I think it happens in all. I mean, you hear the stories about all sides of politics, and what it comes down to is human nature, I suppose. You know, people want to... You're never going to agree on everything. So it's impossible to get a group of people together that are going to agree. The Greens are very good at projecting that they're all unified, but they're not really behind the scenes. And I think ego and ambition comes into it as well. People want to be the top dog, and I think that was the case with the other guy that rocked up, even though no one knew who he was. I think in his mind he felt he was important. So people want to put themselves on that pedestal when...
Well, that was the guy behind the guy that rocked up as well. I don't want to give him any
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and on the serious harms thing, critical infrastructure. So you could say, well, our power grid's critical infrastructure. You can't talk about renewables and net zero. So every facet is covered under the serious harm thing. And arguably beyond all the, infrastructure and banking and referendums, etc., the vilification one. Because then that really gets to, we've seen how sensitive people have become in this victimhood culture of crying isms and so on whenever you give them feedback. And I'd like to use the example of, in the Senate, Maureen Faruqi and Pauline Hanson and their little run-in, where you've got, she's signed the forms and reneged her Pakistani citizenship, but you got Maureen Faruqi in the Australian Senate, who consistently appears to dismiss and disparage Australia. And so you got Pauline Hanson, who says, well, if you don't like it, go back to Pakistan, I'll drive you. And she said, oh, you're racist because you said... She wasn't telling all Pakistanis to go home. She told that one Pakistani who is disparaging the country that she's come to, who's paying her a lot of money to be a civil servant.
I wish I could quickly bring up, we've played it before, the clip of Chris Coveries, and he went up to Maureen Faruqi as she's walking out of court, and he says to her, "Are all white people racist?"
Mm.
And the easy answer is no,
Yeah.
because it would be impossible for all white people to be racist. But she just goes, "No comment." Like she refused to.
I've really seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like the easy answer is you say no, but she refused to do it.
No. Because maybe she believes they are.
Yeah.
I mean, that victim,
Or it suits her narrative that
right?
they are.
That victimhood culture. And so clearly, Pauline Hanson, with that comment to Marine Faruqi, was not being racist to Pakistanis. She was just telling one Pakistani who was acting like a jerk, if you don't like it here, you don't have to stay.
Yeah.
The thing the thing is, it wasn't a racist comment anyway.
No.
It's not racist to say that.
No, but she's intersectional. And Marine Faruqi is.
Who even knows what that word even means? Come on, these stupid words they make
Like,
up.
what happens if Marine Faruqi was from England, and you said to her, "Go back home"?
Well,
is that racist?
That's what the Welcome to Country does to all of us.
Yes.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Right. Being told that this is now land and we're on stolen land and we shouldn't be here,
but we welcome you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Welcome home.
You're
welcome. Do you get welcomed to your house every time you walk in?
My dog.
Yeah. Well, apart from the.
I was watching the ABC the other day.
Parallels to draw there.
Yeah.
I was watching the ABC the other day, and one of the shows started with a "Welcome to Country" or acknowledgement.
Which was this?
I can't remember which show. It was a show on the ABC.
Oh yeah, they all.
And then apparently yoga classes are doing "Welcome to Countries," and when we had the forum at Guildford, we started with the national anthem, and so many people came up to us afterwards like it was a revolutionary act. Oh, thank you for playing the anthem. But then we had some coverage in the left-wing media. One was in the Saturday paper, which I'd never even heard of, and one was some other. Another publication, again, I hadn't heard of it, was very critical, didn't provide any context or quotes, painted us as all right-wing nut jobs. Funnily enough, apparently this journalist works in the renewable sector. So,
okay. Well, there you go.
Figure that.
Follow the money.
One of the attacks on us was they didn't even do a welcome to country. I mean, these right-wing nut jobs, like how can they have a forum and not even have a welcome to country? Well, we just ignored it. Like, we just played the anthem and that was it.
5 years ago, you never had a welcome to country for anything. But I mean, just
anyway.
There you go. I mean, can we not just go back to like 2016?
So you got to understand, these are Marxists. These are Marxist ideologies, and they don't respect our system because they want to tear it down.
Yeah. And this is the thing with activists. Activists and these Marxist activists, they don't have an endpoint where they're happy.
No.
Like they keep fighting.
You'll never appease them.
And that's why you always hear the term "the left eat their own," because someone who goes, "Yes, this is my cause," they fight for it, but then the activists who are actually really driving it go, "Okay, you're done. You're not useful to us anymore." Now you're going, "Hang on, what do you mean that you were okay with us getting married, but you don't want us sort of talking about youth attracted persons and stuff? Oh, you're the bigot now, and then we're done with you, gay marriage person, because we've got the next thing to do to sort of promote the pedos."
Yeah, we even get the groups that are LGB no T or whatever those.
Yeah. Because I mean, like the whole concept that they've got anything in common, like chicks that want to like get together and dudes that want to shag each other have anything to do with people that you want to cut their bits off. How are they the same group?
They're not. It's like just putting a whole heap of old people into one place and thinking they're all going to get along. It just doesn't work like that.
Now,
because they're all intersectional. They're diverse.
There is an election coming up, and obviously you'll be very busy that time commenting on everything that's happening. You mentioned before that maybe some people are not switched on to the misinformation, disinformation stuff. What do you think are the main issues going into the election?
Albo's a giant tool. And
so this would be like the cult of personality election, where it will just be a referendum on Albo?
I think it's going to be interesting, because he's obviously trying to give money away and promote himself as the guy with the tax cuts, the stage 2 tax cuts and the energy bills and stuff. But and look, a lot of the diehard Labourers are starting to see through all the issues and all the immigration and the cost of living is going up, and he doesn't seem to be doing anything to address it. My concern is And people that have watched me on my show know that I joined the Liberal Party. I've got a good conservative branch. My local branch is a good crew, and we're trying to fix it from the inside. So don't judge me too hard for wearing the blue shirt. But like Peter Dutton
made Stephen very happy. Look at him; he's just beaming. He's beaming. So he is beaming. I haven't seen his cheeks go that red
This
ever.
is what I've been promoting on the
He's
show
just
for
like,
ages.
oh
And
my God!
everyone keeps saying you're insane. It's never going to happen. Finally, someone with some sense.
Oh, you're going to be. I guess I'm going to get kicked off the show. Now. You're going to be the new. You're going to be the new co-host.
I mean, I sat on the fence for a little while. Like when Albo got in, I was like, I've got to get involved. I've got to get off the fence. And I saw a few guys like Alex Antic talking around sort of believe in blue and get involved. And I was like, I can't just sit and moan and whinge on the sideline. So this was before I had my podcast. This is when I was still when Albo got in. And so I was like, I've got to get involved. And I sat on, I was like, but where do I go? Do I go to Libs, who like ScoMo disappointed us on all the net zero and other bits and pieces like that? They're not really bringing it. One Nation, but Pauline's got her own issues, and the Libertarians weren't really on the scene at that point in time. So I was really, and then I was watching one of the talks from CPAC, and one of the old Liberal guys, I can never remember his name, but he was sort of saying, don't continue to let the vacuum of conservatism in the Liberal Party let it take over. Don't just go to the splinter parties. We need the Conservatives to get back in the Liberal Party in order to fix it from the inside. So
you can't complain that the Liberal Party is going left if you've abandoned it.
Right. Which I mean, Tony Abbott's talked about that as well. Like when he got dumped and stabbed in the back by Malcolm, a lot of people said, I can't believe the party did that to you. I'm out. And Tony's like, no, don't leave.
Stay in there.
But they did.
But in saying that as well, the Liberal Party have to be willing to accept people that have moved on from the party and then now want to come back. Yes.
Or people that have sued them. Potentially.
Yes. That's a good example.
Yeah. So I started getting politically involved with the Liberal Party to try and fix it from the inside. But I mean, it's a slow journey, and I'm pleased to see the federal intervention in the New South Wales branch because it was not in a good state. I'm hoping that Peter can fix it, but Peter's also running a very small target campaign. I mean, he's running the nuclear thing, but he's not.
You mean Peter Dutton?
Peter Dutton, yeah. I'm concerned from the Liberal Party point of view going to the next election. There's no vision for the future. It's all about, but you're doing that. That's still.
I did like the nuclear policy. I think that's a long-term vision.
It's good, but again, arguably
you're saying there needs to be more.
It's not fully baked enough, and he's sort of coming out with bits and pieces, and he's just slow to react to some of the things. The misinformation thing, like he's so slow. Peter Dutton finally put out a tweet about it this week, but it's taken weeks. David Coleman said something a week or two ago, but it's just been such a drip feed from the LNP on actually taking a stand on some of these freedom issues. And I would like to see them move a little bit faster, and also not just reacting to, and half of them are coming out of like their Scott Morrison's old policies that the ALP is actually just trying to finish off, but also give us a vision for what freedom of property and free markets and give us that vision of what you're going to do to make things better again versus just trying to stem the flow and go, oh, but they did that and that was bad, and so we'll just stop that thing. It's like he's got to give a vision, and I think that's where in going into the last election they didn't have that either. Like Albo went, we're gonna run a better Australia, we're gonna do this, and gave people a bit of a positive vision. Like it was all lies, but he actually promoted a positive thing of change, whereas the others were like, you can't trust Labor because they're bad at the economy. We're bad at the economy. Meanwhile, they'd send us into spiraling into trillions of debt during COVID and so on. So, they didn't have their track record to stand on, but they kept trying to go, oh, but we're not those guys. Those guys are terrible.
But you said you're now in a Liberal Party branch. To put you on the spot, we've got Dave on a call flute, and he's running for the election. What are the main issues? What are some nation building policies that we could bring forward?
It's a good question. I don't plan to be on a call flute. I don't think call flute's my path.
That's a hard question for somebody who's not. You look good as a candidate.
Yeah. No, I think we need to review the size of Australia. Like immigration's a good thing. People come in from overseas. That's a good thing. Like it's good that people want to come here and live here. But we've done way too much, way too quickly. The infrastructure wasn't set up for it, and people that don't seem to be culturally fitting into this country. They don't want to make Australia their home. they want to make Australia their home, if that makes the sense.
They just want to make it the same place they came from.
Right. And we're seeing that with the rallies in the streets and so
Yeah.
on. And unfortunately, this isn't just people that have come here. I think there's like people who are born here and they've been raised into this mindset as well. But we don't have this seem to have this. There seems to be this minority group with a loud voice, which is always the thing. It's the minorities with a loud voice that get out on the streets and that make you think they're a lot bigger than they are. But we seem to have this issue where we've let too many people in too quickly. Like the per capita GDP has gone down. The demand on housing and hospitals and everything is just through the roof because we weren't ready. We weren't ready for that many people into the country. So we need to seriously review immigration and ending some temporary visitor visas and stuff and saying, thank you for coming here, but it's time to leave. I think we need to seriously think about.
So all that wouldn't fit on the core float. So what you would have to say is you would
net zero immigration.
Put a stop to immigration or put immigration on pause.
Yeah.
Okay, then you would turn around and say, bring nuclear back, or make nuclear happen.
Cheap, reliable power. Well, I actually I don't care if it's nuclear. Build some coal plants.
Yeah, coal plants. I agree. That's
yeah. And you guys have had guests on your show. I know, which sort of expose like a lot of the climate hoax stuff for what it is. Where you go, the volcanic fissure that opens up in Northern Europe is spewing out way more CO2 than the humans do. Like it's and especially for Australia, like we're such a percent of a percent.
What does 27 million people do?
We turn the lights off tomorrow, nothing changes.
Nothing
changes. And people go, that's such a terrible argument. You're such an evil human.
No, it's a great argument. And now you got no answer to it.
Except buy more of my solar panels. did you guys see the nuclear Four Corners episode on Monday night? No. It was pretty woeful.
I can imagine.
You know, the thing that made me laugh the most is Mr. Teal, Farm and Home to Court. He was on there.
Oh no.
Of course. And this guy's a big deal in Australia. Like he's not nothing. Like his family, like heir to the throne kind of thing. And so he's got a bit of capital behind him. And he runs. He established the Climate 200 or whatever, the Teal's funding organization.
Yep.
He's invested in all kinds of different renewable things. He's like a chairman on the Clean Renewable Council or whatever. Like he's got all these credentials around that. But on Four Corners, he's there, clean energy or renewables analyst or something. Like he's an analyst.
Come on.
Like why downplay this guy who's got like rather than say clean tech energy investor or someone that show that he's actually got a stake in the game. No, he's just an energy analyst now. I'm like, are you kidding me?
He's analyzing how much he can make from all this renewables. That's the only thing he's analyzing. He's analyzing his bank account balance going.
And he keeps saying, if someone can show me the numbers that nuclear makes sense in Australia, I'd back it straight away.
I can guarantee you, as soon as he invests in nuclear, right, everything else is going to be crap, and we'll have nuclear.
Well, I've been saying that for a long time. Yeah. These investors that are on the renewables bandwagon, when people finally wake up to it all, they'll just start putting their money in nuclear and they'll make money both sides.
And tell me they haven't already got investments in that
they
stuff.
do.
And oil and all that. Where did they make their money in the first place?
Well.
That's what I'm saying. Where did they make their money in the first place?
Yeah.
I guarantee
I love telling lefties that. They say, "Oh, you just want to support the fossil fuel industry." I said, like, if you're like,
yes, I want to
say
support
Whitehaven Coal or something like that. Don't you think you would have diversified? Like, you're a massive company. The first step is to diversify into other areas. And they just look at you going, oh, I haven't thought of that. Yeah, you haven't thought of that, but it's basic stuff.
We have to put you, and the idea of business is to put yourself out of business, right? With a new business. So you put yourself out of business.
Well, it's like, you look at Coca-Cola, they own Mount Franklin Water and Mitsubishi builds fridges
and spaceships. Oh, what do you call it? Rockets?
Yeah. Samsung used to have TVs. Now they got phones and whatever else. So, that's what companies do.
You have to.
GE make jet engines as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's true. Like, diversify.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. But I think I'd be happy for us to have we need cheap, reliable energy. So the PM's like, oh, we're in China and we've reestablished trade and that's great for Australia. And I was like, no, what's great for Australia is cheap reliable power. So we can reindustrialize.
That's right.
Like we are deindustrializing in this nation, which is not good. Like to really dumb it down. like this is we look at COVID and all the shortages we had because we couldn't ship stuff in from China, and go, well, we don't make anything locally anymore.
Yeah, I thought that was the big wake up moment, but we haven't seemed to have done anything about it.
Well, I don't know. I think before COVID there was a urea crisis, right?
Correct.
So now you need, and that's for AdBlue. Okay, so a lot of the trucks and cars and stuff run on AdBlue for less pollution. Okay, we had a urea manufacturing plant, and apparently it got shut down, or it's closing down, and then
you're trying to get off the screen, Adam.
Sorry, sorry. I'm trying to talk to everybody. I'm trying not to look at the TV. I'm trying to look at you guys.
I'll lean back.
So what I'm just saying was that and then what happens is now it's made in Taiwan or something like that in another place, and we couldn't get it.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden all the trucks can't run. And then and the thing is, as a default, you can't just switch the AdBlue off in most vehicles. The car won't run without AdBlue in the tank. So what happens is you have to take. There was people were talking about taking it to their dealership and manually going in and with the computer and turning it off, and then recalibrating the engine to run without AdBlue. So like we are Australia, we are rich in minerals, nutrients.
We have everything.
We've got everything we need. We should be beholden to nobody.
We're not even smelting steel.
No.
Like we're sending all our iron off to get it smelted and then buy it back.
Yes.
Because power's too expensive. And then they go, I did a whole episode where I looked into the maths on the green hydrogen stuff. And like, it's no wonder Twiggy's pulling out of all this stuff, because the numbers are astronomical of how much renewable energy they need to make this sort of mythical green hydrogen to do things like run a steel factory.
Yeah. And
I found an article in the US where they're like, we've got this plan, we're going to do this, but we still have some questions to answer, like where is all the energy going to come from and where are we going to store it? And I'm like,
well, Bill Gates just repurposed the 3 Mile Island nuclear plant to run his AI. So it's just being used specifically for Microsoft to run AI. And he said, if we want to have a net zero economy and also have AI, we need to do it with nuclear energy.
He's big on nuclear. Like I watched that Netflix doco Inside Bill's Brain.
God.
I mean, what you take away from that is the guy's like operating on a different level. Like he's ridiculously smart. Like whether he's on our side or not, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But like some of the stuff he did as a teenager and so on, they talk about in the documentary from a programming and computers point of view, like pretty mental. And like, he had the right connections at the right time to start Microsoft with his mum. But he's very, very clever the way he thinks analytically and breaks down problems. And so he was big. There was a whole episode just on nuclear, and how he was trying to do stuff. And then Donald Trump said, "No, you're not going to go and build test reactors with China because we don't want to sell our energy secrets to China." That slowed that down. But
you said that I asked you a hard question, or Adam said I asked you a hard question before. This is the hardest question. This is the final segment.
Okay.
It's called Build Your Own Fantasy Government. Now, Dave, you're in control of the next Parliament of Australia, and you can choose 5 or 6 people. They can be anyone. Don't have to be politicians. Don't even have to be alive. 5 or 6 people to head up the next government of Australia. Who do you choose?
Look, I think we want to take, something old, something new, something borrowed, something so something old. Like let's bring someone like Menzies back. I think in something new, get someone like Javier Milei.
Okay.
I reckon he's doing some very interesting things with his downsizing of government and what he's doing in Argentina. I think that's pretty exciting. I don't know how to go the borrowed. Where do I go from borrowed? Where do you borrow?
Well, you could borrow Harvey.
Well, no, he's something
He's already
new.
been used.
He's new.
But you could borrow. What about the female Prime Minister?
Liz Truss.
Yes, Liz Truss.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some good raps on her. Like Cameron Zuli was giving her a huge rap after meeting a CPAC, I think.
Yep.
Which was interesting and really sort of shows that you got.
Neil says Tony Abbott.
Look, I'm thinking of him for the blue, because I use Menzies for old, and so I could say Abbott for blue. I like a lot of what Abbott talks about and does, for sure. I disagree with a few of his policies on international conflicts and his viewpoints there. But yeah, I think Abbott's pretty solid overall. Yeah, so Liz Truss is interesting. I mean, if you want to borrow someone, would you borrow someone from the other side, from the other party?
Ooh.
Nah, probably not.
Who is that?
They're all commies. I don't know. Get Hawke back.
Yeah. That's you're putting together a pretty mean government.
At least we need a
lot
bit of charisma. There's a bit of charisma in
Right.
there. Well, Hawke always had charisma. I remember he was probably the first.
So you've
Prime
gone-
Minister
And he wasn't a commie left.
No.
Like he was like a Labor. He was old school Labor.
You know, you've done something that no one else has done. You've picked all former leaders. Everyone always tends to go off and pick this person, that person. Every person you've picked has been a leader of their country, which is interesting. I think that's like a dream team, which is pretty much what this is meant to be.
You're probably the first person who followed the perimeter. I don't worry. Even I randomly pick people too. He's actually picked people who have been and led their countries that are capable of doing it to a certain degree, at least. So you're coming in with what do you call it? What's the basketball team?
And then if you want your wild card, because if you've got a basketball, you need 5. I did something old new, borrow blue. So I did Menzies, Malay,
Liz Truss,
Hawke.
Abbott.
No, I said Hawke for borrowed.
Yeah.
And blue, we go Abbott. And so then we bring in the wild card, Trump, just for a laugh.
Oh, man, I want this government. How good would it be?
I just want to see the photo of them all together.
Answer me this. That government, how many flags will be flying in our Parliament House?
Just the one.
Just the one.
Yeah, Trump's face.
No, just Trump under it. Just Trump under it
with Trump coin.
The Australian Parliament House with TRUMP.
Yeah. Actually, so a few people put in John Anderson. I think John Anderson would be a good alternate instead of Abbott. I like a lot of John's stuff. The work he's doing on his podcast is really good.
Yeah, it's funny with some of those people.
And then you get in someone from the country. You're actually getting a country point of view, which is useful.
There's some of those Howard era politicians, and you can throw in Gary Johns as well, that seem to be better now than they were back when they're in Parliament. Maybe that's just the wisdom that comes with age,
and some are worse when you look at like Houston and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. I don't know what happened here. I mean, I guess if you can go back to the fight back years, there was a lot of promise there.
Yeah.
Then he's just, look at him now. It's like another Turnbull or something.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know.
No, that's a good. I think that's probably one of the best ones we've had. We've had some far out ones, but
it's a bit of a brain teaser.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that.
No,
I skimmed through some of your podcasts. I obviously didn't watch that far through.
Always right at the end. You've never seen the end of the show.
You never watched it to the end.
So he'll make a great politician because he'll just read the brief. He actually won't read the document.
Pauline says, "Make Australia great again."
Yep,
that's it.
Yes, very good.
We agree.
Good on you, Pauline. All right, mate. If anyone wants to follow Dave, he's got a link tree, which is probably the best way. Oops, I hit the wrong button. It's probably the best way for people to follow everything that Dave is doing. You can head to his so it's Linktree, so linkt .ee/Dave right now. You get his Substack, you've got his YouTube, you got his X account. Of course, you can head to those platforms straight away as well. I mean, I think
Dave right now everywhere. So.
Yeah, Dave right now is very easy to find. So if you're interested in what Dave is doing with his podcasts, check him out. I think we should support all independent media, especially with this sort of misinformation, disinformation legislation looming. Let's get on board with as many independent media providers as we possibly can,
because we all have a different style. We all are going to connect with different audiences and relate to people.
And also tell us about your other show, The Awakened Aussies, as well, because that's something completely different again.
Yeah, so The Awakened Aussies is a live show every Monday night at 10 p.m. With a couple of the other independent commentators that are sort of growing their audience on the way up. So we got the Brian Madigan, who many of you might know and see some of his work. He does great stuff. Puts out, it's a machine putting out 5 videos a week.
Wow.
You got Sam Eichen, who's a former professional journo and has worked in newsrooms and things. And he's doing some great podcasting work. And recently we've brought on the Milk Bar TV. Nathan Livingston's joining us, and so obviously he's got a bit of notoriety online for some of the work he's been doing.
Almost feels like a fantasy independent media.
And so we and as we go, because not everyone can make every week, we're looking at bringing a few other people on as a guest occasion in the lineup. So gentlemen, if you're interested, let me know.
Hey, why not?
So yeah, it'd be good to get and we it's a late night show. Occasionally there's some profanity. Like we're pretty.
Well, they're the best ones.
We're pretty
right.
sort of pretty loose, fast and loose, but always talking about the big issues and just having a bit of a chat and sort of inspiring people to get out there and fight and conversate.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Dave. Thank you very much for making the trek out here to Campbelltown to the Fishbowl to join us tonight. It was
absolute pleasure.
It's good meeting you and knowing that there's another like-minded person out there. I think this whole thing's bringing people like us together, which I think is fantastic. And I know Adam and I have made so many good friendships out of this. So hopefully this can be the start of another friendship. So good on you for everything you're doing, and thanks for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
And for everyone, thank you. We love our audience, our faithful audience. We wouldn't be able to do this without people backing us. We probably would have wrapped this up a while ago now.
Yeah.
But to know that people want to follow us and support us is really fantastic. I was at a forum today in Cronulla, and a lady came up to me and she said, "Oh, I've been watching your podcast. I think it's fantastic." I said, "Oh, wow, how long have you been watching for?" And she said, "Back in 2022, so when we first started." So to know that there's people out there that are watching us from the very beginning, it gives us a warm and fuzzy feeling, as I say.
Warm and fuzzy feeling.
It does. And please, as I say every single week, we do rely on you to share this out. I'm not the best at social media, and I really just don't have the time. I'm flat out at the moment.
Comment.
Maybe next week, I can give you some news as to why I'm so busy at the moment, but we'll get to that a bit later. Yeah.
He doesn't even tell me anything, people, out there, he doesn't tell me nothing.
I will tell you, but I didn't want to tell you before the podcast because you might spill.
Oh, come on.
But commenting is really important. It tells the algorithm that someone cared enough about this thing to write a comment on. And so commenting is really important for telling people how good this is, as well as watching more than the first 30 seconds. If you can, even if you walk away and just let play on.
When you go to sleep, just put the X candidates or commanding narrative or Dave right now on your phone and just let it play on
Yep. Put it on repeat.
Yeah.
Because I find a lot of people think, I got the gist of this video after 3 or 4 minutes, and then they bail out. But then the algorithm goes, oh, well, that wasn't very interesting. People bailed out after 3 minutes. So anyway, that all helps.
Yeah, we'll take it from Dave. Don't listen to me. I've been saying it all the way along. That would have been
a good one as well for you, and not Dave right now. Take it from Dave.
Don't get him to rebrand again.
I've got
yeah. Sorry.
You can put some other words in front of take it from Dave.
Innocent mind here. I wasn't thinking about anything connotation wise.
Oh, we're going to take it from Dave now. And
no, they're not.
We're really not.
We'll see you all next time.
See ya.
See you all.